Hello, everybody. I'm just a guy playing video games and yapping endlessly but quietly at the same time. Why? Honestly, because I feel like it, and I'm confident that's all the justification I need. I will not be taking questions. This is an adorable little game I stumbled upon on my silly little YouTube algorithm, and I saw how cute it was, and I looked it out, and wow, it's cute. I played it for like 20 minutes and want to play more, so here I am. Oh my god, the audio is loud. Can't wait to change that in post. I say as if I'm some kind of director or editor of some kind. Well, this is a cute little game called New Glade where you design little whatever you want, little villages, houses of some kind. I'm going to change the graphics settings because for some reason this computer that, from my perspective, I've invested plenty of money in, refuses to run in a smooth 60 frames, and I'm not here to play games. Not here to play games about that. Not when I'm recording, at least. There we go. Much better. Okay. Well, this game gives you a variety of tools to just create things. So, alas, I have created a pillar that does not match very well with the rest of the structures here. You can put different buildings, fences, paths. Putting a path creates, if you put it through a building, creates a door. Windows on said doors, you can see it generates different cosmetic details based on where you put things. You have pretty detailed control of stuff, and it does a pretty good job of making things look very pretty, which we love to see. So that's the gist of this game. I personally am going to erase everything that developers have so kindly provided for me because I'm a stubborn bastard and I refuse to take handouts from anyone. The only problem with that being, I truly do not know how to get rid of this water. There it is. So, let's start with a clean slate here. Let's see how that goes. Well, in this little pretty game called Tiny Glade, believe it or not, we seem to have started with a glade that is in fact tiny. Properly advertised. I respect the decency in that. Personally, I'm more of a fan of glades that are a bit less tiny. So I'm gonna do a little deforestation here. Create a little bit of a larger area to work with. And personally, I'm a big believer in designing things in harmony with the natural landscape. Now, the interesting scenario here is that we can decide what the landscape is, and I'm personally not excited enough by there being a flat glade here, so I'm going to try to create some terrain. Make it a little less even Because who in their right mind is going to be excited to buy a flat Glade with nothing on it? That might be a little judgmental. You could very well have been very satisfied with a flat Glade. But this is my channel, and I don't exactly get your feedback in real time. So if it upsets you that much, please feel free to comment about how upset you are that I have altered the terrain here, and I'll be sure to do a truly flat, truly tiny Glade creation next time. But until then, you kind of just have to cope with the impulses. Oh, look at that. Beautiful sunrise. And by sunrise, I mean sunset. Because it is going downward. And that's how that works. Okay. We've got a little bit of something going on here. We've got a little step formation going on here. That sense of gravity makes me feel like there should be a little water running along. Maybe this was carved out by a stream of some kind over time. And that's why this has been separated. And as soon as I created this water, several ducks have decided to make it their home. Fully within their rights as far as I'm concerned, but I think their haste insinuates either a level of, oh my god, I was going to say desperation, but if it lets me, desperation agreed, but if it lets me pet this thing and there's an audio sound and response, I will actually have I will revoke any judgment. Let's see. This is one of the better games. This is one of the better games. I take everything back there. I'm more than happy to house them in my little stream. It would seem that this sheep also makes a little sound when you pet him. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there is some bird somewhere hidden in the woods cooing relentlessly. And I apologize if that's relaxing to you, because I am zooming out so I don't have to deal with it anymore. I am personally not a fan. Well, we have a little bit of environment going on here. I think it's appropriate to invest a little bit in some mankind invasion of the natural world, as we can't seem to help ourselves from doing, even in fantasies, like in little video games. Alright, what are we gonna do here? Got a little hut with a bunch of vines growing on the side. I personally don't feel I've allocated enough space nor have enough brain power to create a several home establishment. So I'm really just going to worry about making one homestead. The scale of it yet to be determined, of course. So we've got a little base house area. Let's do another one to the side, and then a spire. Like, I swear to God, if that bird doesn't stop, I'm going to blow up. That for how relaxing and gorgeous this game is, that endlessly cooing bird just does not work for me. Alright, we got a whole lot of nothing here. We're starting with the basics. We're starting with size. We're starting with scale. I'm going to move this thing over a bit because it feels weird for it not to be flush with either side. And by flush, I mean almost flush, because flush would look weird. So the spire, of course, is storage. These people probably live off the land in some fashion. And as such, let's see. I bet their path goes from the front door right in the middle, across here. For some reason I thought putting a path over water would create a bridge, and it has not. It has instead created stepping stones that, despite their purpose, remain submerged in the water. This is really intended only for the most dexterous of folk, children, if you will. There's gotta be a way to create a bridge. Create like an actual bridge. Maybe if you put fences along the side. No, that just put fences in the water. Which I don't think these people are trying to gate off whatever fish may lurk here, so I'm going to take that L, accept that as a loss, and say that's the children's path, and those who are a little not afraid to get their feet a little wet, which does mean, these are kind folk here, clearly, to have such a beautiful home. They're not going to refuse to cater to those unwilling to step through their creek. I'm going to use the ambiguity and ambiguity of the forest and say that there's a bridge somewhere in the woods. So we will have yet another quote-unquote entrance going into the woods. Oh God. Okay, steps, that's fine. People can deal with that. I'm just imagining a poor elderly woman of some fashion trying to muster her way up and visit her grandchildren, and just ranting at the parents every time that they haven't fully accommodated her needs. I'm sorry, Grandmama, but I just could not figure out how to create an actual bridge. Funny. Oh, and I do realize that I could simply alter the terrain, but I altered the terrain initially to decide what the terrain would be like. So we're assuming this is natural, and I refuse to... I have altered the terrain. Pray I do not alter it any further. God, I really can't help but quote Star Wars at all times. Well, if this is storage, my brain does tell me there would be another door here. But that allows access for thieves. Maybe these are thief-ridden lands. And maybe there is no door, maybe the only access is from the inside, which would inherently be more heavily guarded as the family lives there. So I refuse to put a door. Now that I am not so steadfast as to refuse to put a window of some kind. Oh, good heavens. Gotta let the air in after all. Gotta let the air in for the crops. Everyone knows that. what good is the harvest if it cannot aerate? We're going to give it plenty of aeration. Okay. No ground floor ones, though. You don't want any particularly skinny thieves sliding through there. Let's not be too careless. No, see, that just looks silly. We're going to do little doors. And by doors, I mean windows. Because I misspoke. Alright. We have food storage. And we have aeration for that food. I suppose I can tend to the actual people who live here now. So, let's see. Well, anyone needs a light, of course. I'm not sure. Okay, I can grab it and move it. And then some windows for light purposes. Oh goodness, I have not designed the proportions of this home well. Oh no. Oh, I am not gonna lie. I do not like... Okay. Oof. It still feels a little sloppy, but it is better. Ugh. Can I change? God, I don't know. This looks terribly lopsided. If you couldn't tell, I am not, in fact, an artist of nearly any kind. The most experience I have with art is probably from the ages of like 8 to 12. I would often just copy images of, it feels too generous to say sketch. I would truly just look at and copy images of things from Star Wars that I wanted to draw. And my mother is actually an interior designer, so she would be much better at this, despite the fact that this is exterior design. I imagine there's a lot of translating skills there. Nonetheless, I will do what I must and pray that I can spin this around. I can. Listen, they may not... I'm not even going to assume that they didn't add bridges. I'm going to assume that I cannot figure out how to create them. Okay. I really do just be making these houses too tall. Okay, alright, now we get to see the lighting actually, since it is becoming nighttime. Except for this lamp, because apparently they don't need that. Oh. Right on time, just like that, ladies and gentlemen. What can I say? I'm a professional. I know what I'm talking about. Oh my god, the bird has returned. Okay, well, that certainly isn't going to help you relax. Well, now that I've... Oh my god. Oh lord, it's so loud. Mayhaps there's a method of... No, there's no way. You can turn down the effects in general, but I like the effects in general. Alright, we're gonna do some far away work for a little bit here. And for that reason, I'm going to work on environmental tweaking. Just by adding some fencing of some kind. Personally, I am not a big fan of fencing in general. I grew up in a pretty cookie cutter neighborhood, but people didn't really have fences around their yards back then, and then that kind of changed, and it used to be that you could run into the backyards of, you could just run through the backyards to your friend's house, 6 houses down, and then it was like, well, now you have to walk through the sidewalk, which I do understand, because I don't want people, I guess I wouldn't want people having access to my backyard, but kids running around, I don't know. It was definitely a little sad to see. Like, I remember when my neighbors, who I believe I was in college at the time, but our neighbors, the 2 girls of whom my brother and I played with a lot, their parents decided to get fencing, and it just felt, it honestly just felt strange. Just felt a little strange, the division of it. I knew better than to take it personally, of course. I do just think it's a cultural shift in how people want to live. That being said, for aesthetic purposes, I'm going to put fencing around this home. I have, after all, established that these are thief-ridden lands. Although, if we're being frank, this fencing isn't stopping anybody with any mobility whatsoever, and any conviction to steal whatever crop may be held here. Don't worry, sheep. Worry not. The fencing will protect you. You know what? In truth, that's what the fencing is for, is to keep the sheep in. Now, you might be thinking, there's only one sheep, and usually a homestead would have more sheep to protect. Well, that's because these are thief-ridden lands, after all. What do you think they're thieving? Not the sheep? Anyways, this fencing truly makes little sense, but I think it looks nice. If I put a path through it, does that make a fence gate? Of course it does. Would have been silly for it not to. So, can I alter that though? Can I make it a gate instead of an entire opening? I'm starting to wonder if maybe my expectations are simply too high. God, it is a pretty game. I have seen some YouTube shorts, which is where I kind of discovered that this game existed, of them just doing really specific and creative things. So I feel like there's just a learning curve. Oh my goodness, absolutely, I'm putting a flag on top. Although I think it looks better on the side. Let's do that. Can I make it bigger? I don't think so, but again, I just don't know how to play the game yet. Despite being a pro gamer, of course. I'm sure none of you were doubting that. Well, now that's just blocking the view. If I lived here, I'd love to have trees scattered about, but given that we're just looking at it from an upward angle. Alright, my goal is to work more on the details of the home before it becomes nighttime and the bird returns. God forbid. Okay, oh, the paint tool I have not used literally at all yet. Okay, excellent. Alright, alright. Let's see what we can do here. If I can select the right thing. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking this. My apologies, I definitely got lost in my train of thought. You'll quickly learn that my focus dwindles quite quickly. Ew, I don't want to do that. But I don't want them to look the same either. Ew, I don't like that green either. What am I doing wrong here? God, this might be a tad painful to watch if you're a graphic designer or really an artist of any kind. Alright, every house needs a back door, of course. We all know this to be true. Maybe... Okay. Alright. Oh no, I'll do flowers at night. Oh, there's little eggs. Little eggs in between the roofs. Better not be that cooing bastard bird laying those. Not that I'm the kind of man who would harm eggs of any kind, but, you know, accidents happen. Moving on, put some windows in here. Laundry, excellent. Reminds me that I have yet to do mine this weekend. But such is life. We're here to relax. It'll get done. Let's put some flowers in the backyard. Okay, so it is not like natural grown flowers. It is like this is a garden they have planted, which is a different vibe than I was going for. So, oh my goodness, a chimney. How silly. How could I not have added a chimney yet? Let's see. Well, I would want to keep the fire away from the silo. So, let's put it there. Oh my goodness. Oh, how funny would it be? How funny would it be to just... How tall can you make it? That makes me laugh. Okay, alright. I've had my laugh. Time to make it look good again. I do have an artistic reputation to build, after all. One chimney is plenty, I'm sure. Now, I know there are more things you can do. I just don't know how you do them. Oh my god, I could make the logo of this homestead the bird. I refuse. sheep would make a lot of sense. Because I have one, and that's enough. Okay. Let's put another flag up on the silo that feels appropriate. I just don't see how you could not do that. Oh. I already did. Okay. The memory is slipping, it would seem. But it is an inevitable loss. Okay, what do we got going on? What are we gonna do here? How does one add more things? Ah, there would be light, of course. Out in the fields. Out of the path for the travelers, the comers and goers. And to keep an eye on any potential thieves. Oh my goodness. I just want to spin it around. I'm afraid this isn't terribly relaxing. Simply because my attitude isn't particularly relaxed. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Not me. I've certainly never done anything like this before. Absolutely putting a lamppost... Nah, not putting a lamppost out in the woods. I don't need to do that. Okay, definitely lampposts for those frolicking along the water. I feel that is only right. God. Well, if you're not already relaxed or asleep by now, if that's your purpose for being here, in which case, to some extent I have failed. I do hope you'll forgive me. Forgive my lack of experience in particular. Though perhaps a few chuckles will have made up for it. I am afraid I've reached my limit for what I can do in this game. I really do know there's so much more you can do, but I simply don't know how to achieve it. But I think given the few tasks, well, given what I've attempted to do, I think I've done a pretty swell job of it, if I'm being honest. Come on, that's pretty. That's pretty, isn't it? I think so. I'd live here. Given the option. Would certainly beat this unending capitalist sweat that we've all been born into. But I suppose there are some things to be grateful for. I don't think you can blame me for, and I'm sure you share some envy for this kind of lifestyle. Though in all honesty, I am a bit of a wuss. I like to relax on the couch and play video games. Or watch Lord of the Rings for the 300th time. Or again. Well, I'll either have to learn how to do more things in this game before I do it again, or play a different game. If you care to stick around for some godforsaken reason, let me know which you'd prefer in the comments, and maybe if you'd like me to yap about anything in particular. Although I do assure you my ability to find things to talk about has no end and no limit, so do with that information what you will. In the meantime, until I see you again, go outside, pet a few ducks. Don't let them bite you too hard. Maybe just feed them from a distance, if that's more in your comfort zone. Although, if you challenge them directly, maybe tell us your tale in the comments. I'll see you next time. Maybe in as aesthetic in a place as this, and maybe we'll play something else. Regardless, have a good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Farewell.